Well, let us know, John, whatever we need to do next and stuff, and hopefully we'll hear something from them pretty
Yep.
soon.
Hopefully, you and I are on the call this week.
Yep. So hopefully we'll get some sort of understanding. If not, we'll do the appropriate. But just an update for the council. Okay.
So I'd just like to reach out on my behalf and possibly the behalf of the council that you're doing this as our IT representative and realize that you're not under any obligation to do so. And that's greatly appreciated. Thank you for being up there and taking care of and helping the city out. Because I know a lot of this stuff is technical and you have probably the resources to be able to get this information for us. So thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for pointing that out. This is an administrative task
Yes, sir.
that is we were glad to take on because we know the kind of beast that AT&T is to deal with.
Yes.
So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, John. Appreciate it. Thank you. All right, let's go ahead and move on to B. Did it come back on?
I restarted, so we'll see how long. This is the third time now. So
Yeah.
John looked at it too.
John's going to help us out figure out what gremlin.
Okay.
Okay. All right, let's go ahead and move on to B, and this is a consideration and possible action concerning ordinance number 2511, an ordinance of Lytle of the City of Lytle, Texas, amending Article 2, Food and Food Establishments of Chapter 10, Business and Business Regulations by deleting Article 2 in its entirety and adopting a new Article 2, Food and Food Establishments in its place, providing for incorporation of preamble, providing a penalty of the amount not to exceed $2,000 for each day of the violation of any provision hereof, and providing a repealer clause, a severity clause, and an effective date. Zach?
All right, so Mayor and Council, we've had a lot of requests coming forward for various food trucks throughout town, and I think it's been brought up before in front of Council about adopting some regulations, and so we're running into some issues, and so we decided to kind of throw together some basic regulations, really to tackle just some of the issues really around sanitation that we're seeing, and wanted to make sure that we're being appropriate as we're seeing more of these food trucks pop up. And so I just want to highlight a couple items that were put into the ordinance. The first section under the general, which covers start page 1 of the ordinance and moves into really up to page 4. Those nothing changed really within the language of what's already in our ordinances under food and food establishments. Really, the only addition to that is if you notice on page 3, in the first paragraph that you see up at the top of page 3 there, where in that paragraph, kind of middle of that paragraph, it said all permits shall be renewed annually except for mobile food units, which must be renewed on a 6-month basis. So now we're just tying that, that for mobile food specifically would be on a 6-month time frame. And then just making sure that it's clear that the permit fee and everything that would be appropriate in there. Moving on to page 4 and really through 6 or 7, I'm sorry, which is really the mobile food units. So this is a whole brand new section that was added. So everything in here is not currently in our ordinance under food and food establishments. So obviously just defines a couple general terms. The permit section under section 10-31 just references that, hey, we already referenced permits earlier in the language, so obviously refer back to that. And then we have some distance and location requirements, and then the mobile food vendor requirements. Most of these are pretty basic things that already, Richie is looking when from the fire marshal standpoint and all that kind of stuff. So nothing really big there, and just some basic things that we're seeing in some tentative language that was actually brought up before by our attorneys. So this all is kind of in line with that. And then really 1034, which is the sanitation requirements, is what get really the heart of, again, why we even are really here tonight talking about this. So what we went ahead and did was basically said that, we're really trying to make sure that mobile food vendors move in and out on private properties. However, we understand that there may be opportunities. Do have current businesses that actually have mobile food units that do stay permanently on the property. So when we have those situations, or we have somebody coming in that would like to be in that situation, we want to make sure that they have proper sanitation on site. And so what we've built in is that if you're going to be permanently on there, you have to have a permanent set of bathrooms built on site to accommodate. The only other way that we would require bathrooms is if you're going to put up some temporary. We have one up here that puts out at CVS, and sometimes they'll put some tables and chairs, which encourages people to lean and stay around. And when that's the case, we want to make sure, again, that the sanitation aspect is taken care of. So, hey, in that case, bring some portable toilets in. Or if the business where they're located at is open and remains open during the whole time that they are selling, then that would qualify where they could use the bathroom inside that business. And so that's really where the big portion of us trying to tackle these regulations comes from. So, and then Division 3 food handlers, literally nothing changed. That's exactly from our ordinance as it exists today. So,
Council, we reached out, just so you know, those talking to other communities and some of the things that they're doing, some of the comments that they provided. You know, at the same time, we want to give the opportunities for those that do actually want to stay a little bit more permanently, but at the same time be able to be a balance, taking care of the permanent restaurants, right? So the health and sanitation is a big one. Reached out to the county. We asked some questions that go along with that just to make sure that we kind of line ourselves. But that's the big thing is if somebody's going to be permanent somewhere, you got to have the permanent restrooms to be able to do that. If they're just pulling in and they're selling, they don't have tables, it's basically a carry out, then that's stuff that we don't need to worry about for sanitation purposes because it's just a pick up and go. It goes along with that. The 6 months on there is because it just gives us a better opportunity in case somebody keeps violating some of the rules on there. We just have, it's a quicker way for us to just go ahead and not renew. And it gives us a chance to really iron it out or try to figure out a way if they do want to continue to operate in Lidl to be able to do that. In general, we haven't had any major problems with this, just a few little snapshots in here. But I think based on with legal's advice and stuff, this might be something that we probably need to start doing just because we're starting to see a lot more rotation of folks that are coming in. And we want to make sure that we take care of the well-being and the sanitation that goes along with that for our folks that actually do that.
Yeah, and then the only other direction, obviously, if we're comfortable with this ordinance, obviously I encourage and recommend approval of it. But the only other thing is we will need to bring back our master fee schedule to establish that permit fee. And just to kind of give you an idea, some of the areas around us, $20-$30. I mean, it doesn't have to be anything crazy, especially if we are on a 6-month basis. We don't want to nickel and dime them. So I would need some guidance as far as that's concerned. So next meeting, we can bring that forward for y'all. So
That wasn't in the previous document?
it was not. So interestingly, we had this permit information generally as it exists in this ordinance, but we weren't actually doing anything with it. Fire marshal was permitting from a fire, standpoint, but it just said reference, the fee, but we never actually adopted a fee. So it's one of those cleanup things in a way. So.
There's a few items that I could not identify or could not find in the document.
Okay.
If you can help me with this.
Sure.
So, excuse me, the permits, are they required to be posted? And if so, is there posting requirements in the document?
Yeah. So I do know that if most of them are not placed on their own property, so we do require the posting of their approval of that property owner, notarized letter. I would say normally you would require. I don't know if we put that in here though.
Because in typical health department postings, those are posted at the location. So
it is in there.
it is in.
Right.
Yeah, I saw 1022. Where?
The very last sentence of the first paragraph.
A valid permit shall be posted in or on every food establishment regulated by this article.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the second item would be exemptions.
Yes.
The feeling I got from the exemptions was that the obviously exemptions were free.
Yeah.
There was no permit charge, but a permit still should be
Obtained.
should be given,
Yes.
so without charge.
Yeah. And that's language that's currently in the ordinance that wasn't changed, but yes, that they would still require a permit. We just wouldn't be charging for them.
Okay.
I think was the idea behind it.
The way this is written, it's not public at all. So you have like, but that's only gonna be. Actually, we were talking about
You never know.
This doesn't apply.
If it's on the church property, right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's still
But if
private property.
if
Yeah.
It's through the city. What I'm getting at is if we're not issuing a permit.
Yeah.
And they're not required to purchase one or be charged for one, how do we know that, well, that would be my third question
Yeah.
is the exempt food trucks still have to go through all the checks and balances, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so that permit, it should be issued and it should be posted, even if it is free. By somebody could just pull up and say, well, I'm exempt and not really be so, and then be there without a permit.
Maybe we should relook at what exemptions or what we're talking about within exemptions.
That's two different things. One, you just wanna waive the fee for a nonprofit.
Right.
That's one thing.
Yeah.
If you're trying to allow a nonprofit to try to operate without having to go through all this.
And that should not be the
Agreed.
intent of this document.
I agree,
They
and I
should
don't
have
think
to
it-
go
I
through-
don't think it was intended, but it does read that way. So
Yeah,
that's
so
what
maybe
needs to
just
be
change the
fixed.
wording so it's
Yeah.
more with the,
Exempt from the fee of
The
the
fee.
permitting, but
yeah,
not
the exemption
permitting
is just a
itself.
fee.
Yeah.
We still have to follow the procedures.
Correct.
Yeah, good point.
I'm sorry, I haven't looked at this, but what about festivals which they cover like those, would those still fall under, are there any exemptions for,
So,
so like a festival, they're gonna still go through like that?
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
they still go through the process. We want to make sure. Now, the uniqueness about it is, we usually have the facilities. If it was at the park or somewhere, that's pretty much taken care of. If they're doing it like on Main Street, because we're doing something on Main Street, then I would say that they would go through the process also with the location, depending on where they're at.
So that goes back to what Austin was saying. If the church is putting on a festival, do they have to come through our regulations and get permits from the
Yes.
city?
Yes, they would.
Yes.
Okay, can we put that in there where it includes festivals and
Sure.
so forth?
If y'all did want to, when the fee issue goes back, if you want to say, this is $20-30 a day, 6 months. If you want to adopt a separate fee or waive the fee, it's like less than a week, if something comes in, just like that.
Yeah. Just put a note to capture that.
Do you want to include any language in there, because we do a fire inspection to make sure that the fire code,
It is.
It's in there.
It's in there.
It's in there.
Yes.
and that will.
And it allows,
Correct.
That included in,
it would be separate of that.
well, it doesn't matter, I'm just trying to get an idea.
Yeah.
If you have a festival and there's 8 or 10 trucks, we're gonna be, kind of bidding, coordinating that, but that's gonna make
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
that was covered. Okay.
So do we go ahead and bring this back, or do we just have the city administrator make these corrections?
I think right now is for us to go ahead and accept the ordinance right now, and we'll bring back the actual fee on the next one,
Yeah, it's up to y'all.
the exemption.
The exemption section.
Yeah, just clarification. Yeah, and it doesn't need to necessarily come back.
Yeah.
And one other thing that I was gonna mention, because this ordinance imposes a penalty, it has to be
Published. Yeah.
that last sentence. It says,
Effective immediately.
effective.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
So I'd like to make a motion as is to approve the ordinance 25-11, an ordinance of the city council of the city of Lytle, Texas, amending Article 2, food and food establishments of Chapter 10, business and business regulations by deleting Article 2 in its entirety and adopting a new Article 2, food and food establishment in its place, providing for the incorporation of preamble, providing a penalty of the amount to exceed $2,000 for each day of violation and of any provision herefor, and providing a repeater clause, a civility clause, and an effective date today of May 12, 2025.
April.
May.
April. I'm real good at that, aren't I?
No, you're good.
Yeah. So I have a motion on the floor.
I'll
Rest-
second.
You got a second? Okay. Further discussion? Anything, comments or anything? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. All yeas. All right. So you guys will just do those little tweaks that we need to do, take
we'll
care
get
of that,
published.
and then
Yep.
bring back the fee schedule
Yes, sir.
for next one. Awesome.
Who was the second?
Emery.
I do.
Thank you, Jim.
All right, let's go ahead and move on to C, consideration and possible action concerning resolution number 25XX, a resolution of City Council of City of Lytle, Texas, approving the terms and conditions of an agreement by and between the City of Lytle, Texas and Dunaway Associates LLC for on-call engineering services, providing for incorporation of preamble, authorizing the mayor to execute any and all documents necessary to effectuate such an agreement and providing an effective date. Zach.
All right, so Mayor and Council, back in February, council approved a master service agreement with Dunaway Associates for on-call engineering services. This was one of the 4 companies that was selected. The language that was approved was obviously had been amended by our city attorney. And so when it went back to Dunaway, they kind of have kicked back on a couple issues. And so Austin had me to place this back on for y'all's consideration. And I'll let Austin probably kind of go through some of the changes or things that are not jiving on both sides. So
Yeah, so most of what we, the version y'all approved was, if we're looking at a spectrum, it was all the way on the end of most favorable to the city. There is nothing, the issue I had was some of the indemnification language that was in there. And what they put some of it back in, but not the parts I objected to. So what's left in there, it does have some indemnification for third-party claims, but only if the city is at fault for those, for whatever gives rise to those claims. So the city won't be in the middle of a fight between the third party and the engineer to the extent
So
that
this
the
was the one
engineer's
that
fault.
they had, the insurance they wanted or something, if they had,
We
whoever
left
they
that.
hired messed up, we would be responsible.
No, we
Different
left in
one.
the part where there is a limitation on damages are from the engineer are limited to like triple the services they provide, which is in those other contracts as well. So yeah, this is good to go as is.
Yeah. So just like Zach had said in the past, we're building a pool of engineers so we can have some flexibility, and we're trying to include them as part of this pool. So that's the reason why we wanted to go ahead and work out the details and everything else that goes along with that.
Well, I read through the changes, just help me understand here, like on page 3 of 16, it's in red, that's the part that was in contention, is that right?
yeah, so anything basically I think what was struck was what they wanted stricken, and what obviously right before that is what they're wanting it to indicate. And I think the problem is that Austin is like, hey, some of this indemnification language, really doesn't apply to us and things like that. But they're
So
continuing to kick
It's in
back on
blue
it.
then, and it's lined out, so I'm confused.
The blue was what the city submitted
Correct.
as our bargaining agreement.
Correct.
And then
then they would-
turn around and put it in red,
Yes.
saying they wanted it back.
Yes.
So the question I have is, if they are refusing to take the liability, does that put more liability on the city?
Can I see your packet? I don't.
Yeah.
I-
Mine's
for
not
some
in
reason I
red.
keep-
And is this
I
just,
haven't looked at this thing.
and is this just between third party and the city, or?
Yeah, so that was their point. Previously, it had other indemnification language in it that was broader. What's left in there now is if a third party, so say they build a road and there's an accident, right? The injured third party that wants to sue, the city is agreeing, if it's the city's fault that accident occurred, right?
Right.
The city's saying we will indemnify engineer and then we'll defend you basically in a suit. And you won't be liable for that because it's not your fault. So that doesn't violate, there's a general prohibition on indemnification. But because it's attributing it to the city's own, it's limited to the city's own mistake or something. That's-
However, this does not eliminate them from anything that they may do incorrectly or cause.
No, they're still,
Right, this is just third
Yes.
party.
yes.
Okay,
Yes.
yeah, because it
It's-
kind of insinuates that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leave it up to legalese to.
The way we have it here is good enough.
So this is what I explained to them. To the extent that when cities say we can't indemnify, we're saying that because it's out of the Constitution that we can't commit to paying a debt that we don't know the amount of, because y'all operate on this annual budget cycle of bringing in taxes and spending the money. So we can't say we're going to sign up for some unknown debt to some third party down the line. So most of the time we will just strike all indemnification language. But if you drill down into the law, there's some nuance to it, and they're wanting to leave this in. If it ever comes up, it's a very particular circumstances, but if it ever came up, the first thing the city's going to do is look and see, is this actually an enforceable clause? If it violates the Constitution, it wouldn't be enforceable. We would get it thrown out anyway. So in other words, to the extent that they put anything in here that isn't valid for cities, if we have a lawsuit over it, that would be one we would get it tossed out basically. And when I looked at it more closely and went back and forth with their team, I don't think this violates it because it's such a limited circumstance. It's the city having to make a mistake and with no fault of the engineer. But a third party still like adding the engineer into a suit, even though it's not their fault and they're really not.
But this third party is between the city and the third party. Not, the consultant did not
This is there to
assign.
protect the engineer. To
Right,
say
and
if
the
third party
engineering
just sues us
consultants
both-
did not assign this third party.
But if a third party sues the city and the engineer,
Right.
it's the same, and it's the city's fault, solely the city's fault that we're even in a lawsuit, that the city will defend the engineer, and that is one of the exceptions to that constitutionality rule.
And you see this in other cities that have this also.
We generally push back on it, but it's not. The reason we bring it back to y'all is it's up to you whether you want to
Keep it
agree
or
with it or
not.
not.
Yeah.
It's legal. It's not violating
It's true.
the Constitution, but I don't believe it was included in the other engineering contracts. And,
It was not.
the others agreed to strip all indemnity language out, and this firm wanted to leave a very limited bit in.
So Zach, is there something that they specialize in that?
So, I mean, we had awarded the 4, and like I said, the other 3, we've kind of, we've got all the agreements in place. Obviously it'd be nice to have them, but it's not necessary. What my plan was for them was to start working on some of our like city facility type stuff, like they kind of have a background in some more building type engineer. So like our community center and that kind of stuff that we need the foundation done. But any engineer really that we've selected could do that. So if we want to push back on this and say we're not going to, and they decide to walk away from the award, then I don't think it's going to hurt us in the end. So,
And 2 other points on that: if huge projects, you are probably going to bid this anyways. So it's not to say that they can never come in a project for y'all. They
Yeah.
just wouldn't be in the stable of engineers that are like on call for smaller projects. And two, if y'all reject this, the next step, I mean, obviously we're going to let Dunaway know, and they'll have another chance to decide if they want to, leave this language in, or if they're willing to take another look at removing some of it, or have another round. But this came back as they were firm on they want.
Motion, like if I want to make a motion, reject that, just make a motion, reject.
No action.
No action.
Yeah, no
You
action.
could, if y'all want to table it and see. I mean, we expressed to them that this was brought to y'all. You didn't approve it, so that signals.
I mean, I'm just saying, 'cause the other three took out that clause, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
The other one was pushing back. Why would we still consider running the same or going with them? If the other three
That's the
didn't?
choice. That's the choice y'all have. Is how
Yeah.
bad do you want their.
So if we
Sure.
table it, means it comes back. If we just go ahead and say no action,
Yeah, and then we can communicate what.
Either
the-
way, we communicate to them.
Yeah.
This wasn't approved.
Yeah,
And which I told them there's a risk that. Well, the conversation we're having now is exactly what I told them.
yeah. But if we table it, it still has to come back.
correct.
That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
come
So-
back
I would
with this
prefer
one.
not to table if we're.
So it might be better just to say no action and that.
If they do end up hearing this and saying, okay, we'll take another look at it, then we'll definitely bring it back to y'all anyways, because it would be a different version of the contract.
All right.
Mayor, I make a motion that we take no action on resolution number 25XX, resolution.
Okay, got a motion on the table. Do I have a second?
I'll second that, Mayor.
Yeah, second. Okay. Any discussion on that? All those in favor for no action?
Aye.
Any opposed? All yeas. Okay. Zach, if you can go ahead and Austin, you guys go ahead and reach back to
We
them.
will let them know.
I appreciate that. Okay. Let's go ahead and move on to D, consideration and possible action concerning rescheduling of special council meeting scheduled for the 27th of May, 2025.
All right, so Mayor and Council, with Memorial Day on May the 26th, we had already scheduled the council meeting for Tuesday, the 27th of May for the next council meeting. However, there's a couple different conflicts, including our attorney on Tuesday as well as mayor, and we do have some bigger items that I would prefer to have the mayor and a couple other people here. And so we are seeing maybe if we can move it to Wednesday, May 28th, if possible. We can also slightly move it up if we needed to, but just wanted to
Yeah, you scheduled.
see what looked like on y'all's end. So,
Mayor, I'd like to start off by making a motion to approve the rescheduling of the special council meeting from May the 27th, 2025 to May the 28th, 2025.
Okay, got a motion on the floor for us to look on the 28th of May, or to schedule for the 28th of May. Do I have a second? Got a second. Okay, now discussion. Matt, you good?
I'm good.
Donna? Richard? Not sure yet. You be in there? Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so all those in favor for us to go ahead and move to the 28th?
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, all yeas. Zach, if you can go ahead and make that change and also that notification.
Yep.
For that meeting, so send it out.
will do.
That'd be great. Thank you, thank you. All right, Council, let's go ahead and move on to E, discussion and update regarding audit conducted by Waste Management and City of Lidle.
All right.
Zach?
So, Mayor and Council, Mayor and I met recently with Waste Management on some general performance issues and things we were noticing, and really the longer time periods it seems to be taking to pick up trash in the city. And so we met with them, communicated some stuff. At that time, it was brought up that they felt that there was a lot more carts, containers that were out than what should be out there. So this last, I guess not this past week, but the prior week, They completed what they called an audit of the carts. So the city provided them a list of what we had for our billing as far as how many carts each individual address or account should have. A truck followed behind the trash truck, and if they were seen to have too many, then they obviously took that cart away. And as of Friday, when I was putting the package together, we got word that there was about 40 containers throughout the city that were picked up by Waste Management. However, they did indicate that they had only completed basically north of Highway 132. And so, however, and they pretty strongly that there's not a huge issue, but south of 132 with the new residents and stuff out along 2790. However, they still plan to do that. They just won't give me a date, so we don't advertise it and people don't put out their trash can and stuff like that. But so 40, we did have a few instances where staff had not reflected appropriately on our side. We had some instances where a business owner had taken extra carts to their residents, so there was just kind of a mixture of things that, were occurring there. But I will say that based on the feedback that Waste Management gave us when the mayor and I were meeting, that even originally with 16 and 23 account or carts in the city, and based on the numbers that they provided as far as how many they try to get in an hour of time, we're really trying to push them to say we need a second truck down in the city of Lytle. So we're going to continue to drive that point home. But we did get a few people that, like I said, called and said, oh, I do want that cart. So they had to take the cart back out there and are paying for it now. But we just wanted to kind of give you an update to what happened in case you were getting any calls or people saying, because we got a few here, obviously, why'd they take my cart? So there's the flat fee for the one, and then each additional cart's about $10 a cart. It's a little less than 10, but it's about 10. Most people have one or two. There are a few people that have three in town. But, they were saying some of them had 4 or 5 that were out, and could be residents left and they went over and grabbed their cart and were using it. Who knows? So,
But these are official waste management trash cans.
Correct. Yes. And that was one thing that kind of blew the mayor and I's when we were talking to them, that they didn't really know what was out and about. I mean, the asset, and that kind of threw us for a loop a little bit, that they didn't really know what was out there. So again, we provided them what we had in our billing system, and that's what they based the carts off of when they were picking up.
Council, just so you know, this is only dealing with residential.
Yes.
So it's had nothing to do with the businesses or anything like that. Now, if they got it from a business, it's a whole different story. But what they were auditing was just the residential portion as they drove around.
Yeah.
Trying to figure out, see who had the carts and everything else. Zach, did they give you an indication if they mentioned there was 40 of them? Did they mention how many went back, or
they didn't? I asked,
portion?
but they did not respond by the time that we've had. Even today, I haven't seen a response yet.
Yeah, so we're waiting for the final, but I know that that start talking about it because they also have reached out to me. We wanted to make sure that you all knew the background behind it and the reason they're doing it. To us, just looking by the numbers, like Zach said, and when you calculate how much, we should have a second truck, period.
Yeah.
If you notice, we've gotten a few times already where there's missed trash and, hey, street so-and-so, leave your trash out, or something happens. So to us, it's more about having the additional truck. But they wanted to do an off first. And
Maybe they should just go back to the way it used to be. We used to have it Wednesday and
Yeah.
Saturday morning, right?
we had 2 days.
And we talked about that. The mayor was very adamant that we didn't have these issues when you were out here twice a week. And all of a sudden we went down to once a week, and all of a sudden there's all these issues, and you're here less frequently. So they understand our frustration. I mean, we drove that point home, and we continue to email and correspond with them when issues are popping up. So I didn't hear any this last time. So
But I will say, so after that discussion, one thing that they did promised us was that we were going to get a brand new truck. And last week it was a brand new truck. That was because we've had instances where the truck breaks down or something happens. So last week we did have a brand new truck. It was pretty neat.
That's good.
That was a really nice design.
These are alternative fuel vehicles, right?
No, not
No?
not the one that comes to us.
Oh, okay. Because
Yeah.
I know there was a push on alternative.
Yes.
fuel.
I know as a company, they're definitely pushing that. But part of our issue was also, it's a 40-minute drive back to the dump too. So I mean, they're factoring that in, as well, and
then
that's why
idling
it's
all
like,
that time. And
Yeah.
it's a lot of wasted, not necessarily wasted, but I
So,
mean, it is wasted. As
let me
far
let me
as,
tell you a story real quick, and I'm going to be upset when they take my trash can.
Okay.
So, on our property, we have one trash can.
Yeah.
I have a second property behind us.
Yeah.
I'm paying full price for that second property.
Yeah.
Because I want brush pickup allowed on both sides.
Yeah.
So I use that back property trash can and I put it with my front property, which makes it look as though I have one additional
Correct.
trash cans. However,
Yes.
I am within,
Yes.
it's probably not doing it right because for my residents, there should only be one.
Sure.
It would make it hard for their accounting, right?
Sure.
So
Yeah.
and if
And
they come by and say, well, he only is allowed one, although paying for two full services.
yeah.
And then they take
They're-
my trash can. But they may not know.
They
that.
they may not. The driver may not, but we did talk about there were going to be instances where that was the case. And I will say that literally the next day I did see a truck come through after they did it with the carts start to deliver some extra ones back out. So they will move fairly fast to get it back, is what they promised us. So if that happens.
If that happens. I know where it goes.
Yeah.
Zach and
Yeah.
Paula, is there any way that in the system, if we can put like a little note, since we're providing the data to them?
Yeah.
Maybe in the system for situations
Yeah.
like he has, we can put it on the main
Yeah.
address and say second container due to the property behind. So it's very easy. Everybody can understand. Maybe we can include that in the system.
I can do that.
So that's a good thing. They're using what we have. They're using what we actually have, but we just need to make sure that we identify it or we modify it the way it's going to help out. But we just wanted you to be aware. We're going to continue working on this, and our goal is to be able to get a second truck. That way, it's more efficient, a lot quicker, and in case one breaks down, we already have one second one that is actually.
One last thing on the comment you made, when a resident leaves.
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is to pick up the trash can?
Yeah, so the waste management now in control of the trash cans
Okay.
fully. So it is their responsibility.
Thank you.
You said that it takes 45 minutes to go to the dump.
Yeah, it's
Is
about
the dump right here off the 604?
no.
It's the one way on Houston Street.
The one
Yes.
you said, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the one on 410
Yeah.
all the way out there.
Yes.
Yes.
No.
No, you're correct.
New trucks, they talked about putting a camera up on the top to watch what comes out of the trash can.
Yes.
Does
And
the new
they-
truck have that?
They do still have that. We've been kind of back and forth with how they use that though, but yes, they do have the ability to do some of that.
The older ones have been modified, and the new ones automatically.
Yeah.
come
They're
up.
looking for someone dumping an old TV. when they
Yeah.
should,
Yeah.
That's correct.
Or, if fire starts in it later on, they can track it back to what, that kind of stuff.
They
Yeah.
dumped they missed one of our cans, they picked it up, but it didn't dump all the way in case it was out there, she tracked the guy down. Because I got it on camera, she was looking at it and see it, pulled it back, sure enough, he goes, I'm sorry, Bill, I didn't check it, so he came back around and got it, so it is a technology that works.
Yeah.
I know they can have.
Yeah.
Yep. All right, council, just an update. Okay. Awesome. All right, let's go ahead and move on. We're doing good. Let's go ahead and take care of the department reports. So first one that we have is animal care and control. Linda? All right.
No? Oh, sorry. Okay. So for the Animal Control Department report, let's see. Okay. So for the month of April, okay, we had calls for service 14. We had 0 trap set, animals euthanized 0, animals surrendered 0. Animals returned to owner, we had 1. Animal intake, we had 4. And we also had 4 adoptions for the month of April. Animal count was 16 dogs, 9 cats as of April 30th. Currently, we have 14 dogs and 2 pending adoptions. So that'll take us back to 12. And for cats, we have 21 cats, 2 pending adoptions. And transferred to rescue on April 1st, we transferred 8 puppies to San Antonio Humane Society. And April 17th of 2025, 2 dogs to FAWA in New Jersey. And those are the pictures when they arrived to New Jersey to their families. Yeah, so in that middle picture, those 2 dogs those are actually our dogs. They went to the little one went to the same family that was from our shelter. Okay, so Bella's Pantry. We had 64 pet owners receive food, 3 new owners, and the first person in line was at 1:48 a.m.
Yeah, we ran out of food.
That's early.
I never do that.
Okay. For the events, April 4th was Dragonfly Vet Clinic, and then April 26th, Bella's Pantry. And that was our Easter egg hunt. It was fun doing that. I thought maybe you guys might enjoy that.
Yeah.
Lydia, myself, and Austin. And then we had to spots donate. Oops, sorry. How do I go back? The top one? Okay. Lots of spots donated those treats, Easter dog treats for the Easter egg hunt. Yeah, they were cute. And then, of course, when I submitted the report, our upcoming event was our Mother's Day weekend adoption event. So, upcoming events with Dragonfly Vet Clinic for June 14th and Bella's Pantry on June 28th. And that's it. Any questions?
Well, let's see. I've heard the news, something about Harvard.
My youngest boy, he'll be 18 on June 1st. He was accepted to Harvard.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Tomorrow he has an award ceremony for his scholarship. And then my oldest son, he's 6. He just graduated University of Incarnate Word for nursing. So he will be an RN for the University Trauma Center. So,
Awesome.
yeah, so I'm very proud.
Good way
Best
for-
Mother's Day.
For Mother's Day
Yeah.
celebration. Congratulations.
Thank
Melissa.
you. Thank you.
That is awesome. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Proud mama. That's for sure. That's for sure. All right. Cassandra. Library. Stuff always happening out there. And that doesn't include what tech's out there.
Oh,
so-
no, I know.
No.
Okay, we had 142 computer users for the adult computers and 99 for the kids. We checked out 1,388 items. And then our e-reader stats have gone up a little bit. We had 16 users and 59 loans. And there was 22 new accounts, 10 account renewals, and April, May 28 library cards. We have story time on Wednesdays, and then we're actually going to take away the library crochet group and change it over to that craft with us where they can come every week. You know, we started it last week and we had about 5 people. So, and of course we had the crochet group last month, and then we were going to start the craft with us last week. So it was good. I had a library director meeting, and they came to Lytle instead of me going to their libraries, so they decided we'll go to Lytle. And then we're still working on this. Virginia's been on the teen labels right now, so we're trying to get those finished. And we're still offering the curbside, and that's the library calendar. Should have put it on a different color. And those are the displays. The left one, I cannot remember. It was having to do with, I think it was child prevention or child abuse prevention month. And then it was lawn care and garden. And then the left side was staff picks, and then poetry month. And that was it. Any questions?
All right. Anything besides crafts? Anything
We're
for
gonna
the
have
summer?
the summer. I'm working with the guy from Fun House Bubbles or something like that, and that's supposed to be in July. But we're still working on the date. and he was going to send a proposal over to see what he offered.
Awesome.
So hopefully I'll have a date next time and let everybody know. Okay. Any questions?
Anything?
You're
Okay,
welcome.
appreciate
Thank
that. Hey. See, in honor of the proclamation of Public Works Week.
For the month of April, we had 12 meters installed. Those are the regular new houses out here in the subdivision. No main breaks. We replaced 26 meters, which was Twin Lakes. Those all went to
From the
radio read
old
meters.
To the new.
Yes.
Okay.
And no lines repaired, no angle stops, no meter washers, no service leaks. Customer leaks, we had 2. Reread H2Os. Customer requests, we had 12. And the city, 7. 1 main stoppage, the sewer. No customer, no trailer park this time. We had miscellaneous 35 work orders, 20. H2O, we had 10. New H2Os, we had 7. Nothing on the cutoff list. No reconnects. Miscellaneous work orders, we had 18. In coal mine, we dug that up today and it's getting ready for next week. We're going to replace that once the contractors do their job on 132.
The new line.
So
That is awesome.
that's ready, all ready to go. And then we got one on Bruce Street, which is just a little small hole, pinhole on the main.
The one on there,
Yeah, it's on the bottom.
the bottom.
And there's a total of the work orders, the usage, water pumped. And the stop signs are up on Magnolia and Benton, Hester.
I've been getting some good compliments. People have been saying, "Hey, this is good. I'm glad that you guys were able to do that." So, Richie, have you gotten anything? No.
I got one email from the lady.
It's probably the one taking the shortcut, right? Yeah.
What idiot.
And that's one of the new bearings they put in at the sewer plant on the racetrack. That's a new one there. That was the old one.
Okay, so go back to the other one. So, do we know and do we have on the maintenance what's supposed to be happening with this?
Yes, we're greasing it every 2 weeks.
Every 2 weeks.
Yes,
So it's on
we
the
got a
list.
chart and we write it down.
Okay.
That's on the list. Yeah.
Okay.
Cost a lot of money to replace those. So,
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
yeah.
What's your maintenance on it? What's
We-
the maintenance?
every
on
2
it?
weeks we grease it every 2 weeks.
That's the moving
Bless you.
bearing, right?
Yeah, that was your 16,000 charge.
That's,
Yeah. And then at the lift station, we had the relays go out and they replaced all 3 of them. And they replaced that control box too on the lift station.
explain that. Is that our mess? What
What?
are all those connections up on the top there?
Go back.
There's 4 of them. The blue connections on the top, they look like maps. No, not the top. Go back to the picture of the pipes. There.
Oh, this one?
Yeah, what are those
Oh.
5 clamps there?
That is the one on Benton and Lake Street.
So that's not our doing.
That was way back when.
Okay,
Way back when.
okay. And that's
We replaced all that.
Okay,
We did it like that now.
there you go. That's beautiful.
That's even better.
He's getting ready to chew you out.
Yeah.
Get
Go
the-
back.
get the
Pete, go back
fingers
to
pointed.
the other one. One more. Yeah. So the thing about this, when you look at a lot of these either fixes or put together that we keep finding was either inappropriately done, or number two, they were laid out in a location that wasn't appropriately prepared with the clearance, everything to have the flexibility to be able to do that. So I know they've been putting a lot of attention to making sure that we do that with every single brand new one that we do.
You fix it once and you don't have to come back.
Yeah, that's why we redid it, the whole thing in that section.
Thank you.
Yep, looks good.
There's the bearings on that old one.
All right.
That's it.
Anything for Pete? So we just have those 2 leaks. That's it.
Yeah, just those two.
Okay. And one of them here within the next week.
Maybe
the other
next
one,
week when they do that changeover, we'll
take
we
care
got
of
all
that
the
one.
stuff ready to go.
Okay.
We dug it up today, so it's ready. Just cut it, put it.
Be able to take care of that one.
Yes, sir.
All right.
That's it.
Anything, council? No, sir. Thanks, Pete. Appreciate it. Please thank all the guys. All right, Richie.
Okay, so, basic information there, cost for service, nothing really, everything's pretty normal there. 215 traffic citations issued, no insurance, 43. Still, they say no motor vehicle registration, 55. And a lot of them probably didn't get their vehicle registered because they didn't have insurance. So that's interesting this month, but hard to believe all the insurance laws are, and you still got a lot of vehicles out there without insurance. And there's a pie chart that
And that big chunk of blue is pretty much what gives you the
that's a registration. Yeah, that's registration.
to
and-
see other issues, right?
Yes, sir. That's what you do is you get it. That's your probable cause for your stop, and that's when you're finding your wanted people. You're a lot of times, sometimes it's off speeding, but made a lot of arrests or sees a lot of dope and stuff off of a registration sticker.
So now that we don't have inspections, the numbers are still.
Yeah, and before, so what you will see, I think, not quite, but you are going to see more enforcement on, vehicles that are safe, like tires that are bald, because before, there was somebody kind of checking that a little bit. Even a inspection station that was a little crooked would still, make sure you had the horn worked and, something. But so we're going to see how that plays out. Other states have had it with no inspection. When I started, we had the inspection sticker and the registration. So a lot of times people would get one, they didn't get the other. And so, it's 2 things you could look at, but different colors, you could see them. Yeah. So you know how that was. It was we call it the good old days when you could see everything. Now before, then they had the little one on the license plate, remember? Little sticker. And everybody would go around at a special event somewhere and they'd use 10 snips and snip the corner of your license plate off. Then they'd get home and take that sticker off and put it on another vehicle. So that was
They had 15 layers and it's easy to take
Yeah.
off that top layer.
So yeah, now we're
Not by experience, I'm just saying.
oh yeah. Statute of limitations expired, sir. You're okay. But anyway, but yes, it's true. Adultery, lots of arrests. I mean, dope, theft, dope, assault, dope, warrants, a little bit of drug paraphernalia, terroristic threats, DWI, warrants. A few more arrests, DWI, warrants, a lot of activity. And the bad part of that is when you have all those cases, the field works takes 3 or 4 hours maybe on a DWI, but putting everything together, making the videos and duplicate and triplicate for the prosecutors and then following up to all those DWIs, we went and got blood draws. So the officers got search warrants. So they got to get all the search warrant stuff together. They got to get the stuff from the hospital. I mean, it's a lot of work, but it's what we do, try to keep the road safe. And again, you go to thefts. I mean, really had that pickup stolen from HEB. Yes, those Wagyu briskets. So really, that's everything happened at the HEB parking lot. I mean, there you have it. Burglary, that Good Luck Mart, they got a slot machine down there. I guess some old boy might have lost a little too much, come back to even the score. Had a burglar vehicle at, I don't know where that was. In Burger King, we had burglary of a building, which we actually got the confession on that. We're already working the case on it. What else we got down there? Identity theft, some forged checks. Over at the pawn shop, they cashed some checks. There were special events. Had a couple of guys go to a free LiDAR instructor course in Lotus, Benton City Water Spring Fling. Guys went out there. Dave and I were at the police chief's conference in Galveston. Sheriff's office had a school safety meeting. The state mandates 2 of those a year per county. So we have to go to the Atascosa and the Medina. Community outreach, Easter event for the church on Good Friday, Easter egg hunt, SFT update, DWI training in Hondo. Again, that was some free training we found. Reading to students, lockdown drills, escort. Is that all we had on that? Oh, hold on. How do I go back? Oh. Okay. Food trailer inspection and a lot of conversations with that data center. You know, we're working with Medina County, who's going to have a fire code out there, and then they're working. But once they come in, they'll be under our fire code. So Matt's been really coordinating with them to minimize them having to duplicate things. Like, for example, Knoxbox for the access. I mean, they're not. Right now, they can plan to do it with our, because by the time they open, they'll be in ours, so they'll want to use our Knox boxes, not the county. It's different things like that. Everything's going well. It's just big project, lots of things to deal with. Filed 6 cases with the county attorney's office, 1 case with the DA's office, none with Medina. I come up with this is a new one, assisting other law enforcement outside the city. So this varies a lot. This month, not much. Those were both 2 calls, traffic accidents on 35. Those are always going to be a lot of those, normally more, because when people call on accidents, we really don't know where they are on 35. I mean, they're anywhere between Natalia and Lucky Road. So a lot of times, everybody gets a call and you go out and then you find it. And sometimes it's 50 yards out of the city. Sometimes it's 50 yards in the city. But that's something. And then also another thing I came up, Paula talking about open records requests she does and stuff. We do a lot of background checks, records requests, report requests by mail, and open records requests for a lot of things. So 23 of them, for example, last month. Give you an example. We get a lot from a lot of sheriff's departments in Florida, a lot of police departments in California. They hire a lot of military people, Air Force people, okay? What these police departments do is they know if the guy was ever stationed in San Antonio. Okay, they know if they go to San Antonio, they know they only get records from San Antonio, and they know there's all these suburbs. So with us being partially in Barrett County, we get caught into that. So we get those letters as well, even though people may have never. They send them to all the suburbs, all law enforcement agencies, transit police, everybody, And so we end up with a lot of those. And some months we'll get 5 or 6 from LAPD or Dallas, so it's kind of. So Danny handles most of those. So it's a lot of work. Sometimes not. We also have all the people that work at the like GEO, the detention centers, the contract detention centers. Their people do all the backgrounds. They have to do their federal contractor investigators, and they come by and do all the backgrounds in person. And so a lot of that, it kind of goes unseen. So I wanted to kind of paint a little more of what's going on at times. Human resources. We had an hour and a half of overtime, and that's over 20. That's a 28-day period. So, and then we had 22.25 vacation hours, 1675 sick, and 28.5 PL. See if I have anything else on here. At the end of it, then I guess.
Richie,
Yeah.
that is happening. So if you go back a couple of slides.
Hold on. Go ahead.
Oh, no, that one.
Oh,
That one. Sorry.
Yes. Hold on.
Go forward.
Go.
That one. So is that where you're gonna anything happening like in Las Palomas? You would.
Yeah.
actually-
So anytime we assist another law enforcement agency outside the city, and again, we'll tweak it as we figure out how the data is going to come in. That's kind of where we're going to try to give an
highlight
idea.
it there?
That's where we're going to try to give an idea. Not that we're having an issue or not an issue. I'm just trying to get an idea of what's, kind of throw more information is better. We've got the information, so it doesn't cost me nothing to put it in here. And at some point in time, somebody will find it useful. Even if we don't find it useful this month, we'll find it useful in 6 months. So that's kind of where we're.
That's where you're shooting. to.
Yeah, that'll be anything outside the city. That'd be and then we'll break it down by, depending on how many it might be, you know, years ago, Twin Lakes is where we went to a lot of times, assisted Medina County and Twin Lakes. But now they've got more officers, so we don't really go out there too much. You know, we have the city part, but we don't go. We're not required to, you know, go out there as much. So that's where we'll, again, how it's going to look once we get some more data and we kind of read it more. And then we'll also be adding active criminal investigations in here too, to kind of give you an idea of how many active criminal investigations we have at the end of the month or first of the month, however we're going to do that. And just throwing more out there, nothing really, you know, and if any of y'all, of course you're new, but if you come up with anything you think, what about this? I mean, whatever y'all can find, if we got it, we'll put the data together. Cause that's what a lot of the stuff I just got from looking at police departments, monthly reports, you know, and trying to find stuff, you know, and then I implement it in ours. Cause we have all these going back. Our monthly reports on the website go back to August of 1999. You can upload the first report I did in August of 1999. You can look at it right now off your tablet, you know. So it's really good because there's a lot of historical data there.
Okay. Council, anything?
Thank you.
Thank you, Richie. Appreciate that. Okay, it's going to be time for a break. Austin, question for you. So is it okay if I cover the executive session and then we go into break and executive session at the same time, or do we need to keep them separate? Yeah, in other words, I'll cover the information because we're all going to go in the back for the executive session, but we can grab something to eat and then go back there. Or do you want to keep them separate? Okay. So I would still. So you got to do this separate. And then if we're going to do it separate, we'll just do the recess and then we'll just do it that way. And then we come back and we just read it. I'll be able to do that. So council, let's go ahead and go into, it's 8 o'clock right now. Let's go ahead. Okay. Well, we can just place it, come back, do the reading, and then go back over there. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we'll just do the, okay. So it's 8 o'clock right now, 8 p.m. Let's go ahead and show that we're going into a break. And we'll take a short 10-minute break.